Good evening. My name is Ben Oste, and I will be your MC tonight. Welcome to the Northern Colorado Republican Gubernatorial Forum, sponsored by the Northern Colorado Legislative Wrap-Up. We're honored to have you here tonight for what promises to be an exciting and engaging event. This evening, you'll have the opportunity to hear directly from the Republican candidates for governor as they share their ideas, priorities, and vision for the future of our great state. The topics discussed tonight reflect real challenges and opportunities that Coloradoans face every day. Tonight's forum will be moderated by Kim Munson, and we want to extend our sincere gratitude to all of the candidates in attendance for their dedication, leadership, and commitment to building a better Colorado. We would also like to thank the many organizations and groups here tonight for their ongoing efforts to keep our communities active. And finally, we want to thank you, our audience, for taking time out of your evening to join us, meet the candidates, and engage with the organizations represented here. Your involvement and your voice are what keep our republic strong as we head into the 2026 election cycle. Please welcome Priscilla Ron, author of Restoring Education in America, for tonight's invocation.
Good evening, everybody. Could we stand for prayer, please? Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for who you are. We lift you up tonight as the all-powerful, all-knowing creator of our lives. And we come humbly before you, so grateful for all that you've done for us, for bringing us here safely. Lord, we thank you for this opportunity to make some changes in our government and to make choices that are pleasing to you. And so right now, in accordance to your word, Lord, we just lift up every single candidate that's running for governor. We thank you that they have a desire to make change and to help the people that you love. And so we pray that you would give them wisdom, give them guidance. Lord, change the hearts and the minds of voters in Colorado. Change the hearts and minds of our politicians. Help us to make decisions that are in alignment with the things that you would have us to do. Let your will on earth be the same as what happens in heaven, God. And so as we go forth, just give us kindness and grace and understanding in how we hear from you and how we treat one another. Lord, we ask this in the highest name that has been given on this earth, in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Please welcome former State Senator Kevin Lundberg for the national anthem.
Yes, please remain standing as we all sing the national anthem together. First and final verse, I hope you know them both. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Oh, thus be it ever when free men shall stand between their loved home and the war's desolation. Blessed with victory and peace, may the heaven-blessed land Praise the power that hath made and preserved us a nation. Then conquer we must, when our cause it is just, and this be our motto, in God is our trust. And the star-spangled banner in triumph shall wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. If you would please join me in the pledge to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much.
We're active in about 15 campuses, and we're growing very, very quickly. And keep in mind, this is not just a flash in the pan movement. We're going to become an institution to give them the power and the confidence to stand up and let their voice be heard. I started this organization when I was 18 years old. I decided not to go to college. I didn't get in my dream school, which was the United States Military Academy at West Point. I have this idea to galvanize and motivate the future youth of this country around a core set of ideas, not just political parties or politicians. And the ideas are really America's the greatest country in the history of the world. The Constitution is the greatest political document ever written, and free enterprise is the most assured way to lift people out of poverty and create prosperity for all. Those are the three big ideas. And I think that's something that can win. We as Christians are called to go into the public arena to correct error with truth. So I go to college campuses and there's a lot of error. We're all sinners. We are all live in error. I'm far more interested in what God wants of me than what I want from God.
I have to say this without getting emotional, but I'm very proud of my husband. And I know many of you are too. You have worked so hard. And I know a lot of you have seen, obviously, his videos on TikTok and all the stuff he does on campus. But no one gets to see him from my angle except for myself and our children. And the sacrifices that he made this year, he's amazing. I'm very blessed.
And I would not have been able to do any of it without Erica. And that's the real truth. I'll tell you what. You are here as a grassroots response to the top-down revolution happening in this country. I want our Turning Point USA students to receive a round of applause. These are the freedom fighters of America.
The media said that Turning Point could never run a ground game. They weren't experienced. They didn't know Charlie, right?
This is the greatest generational realignment since Woodstock. This generation is the most conservative generation that we have seen in well over 50 years, and the numbers show it. What young people especially are screaming at is they say, give me a structure that I can live my life by. And especially with young men, more challenging of them, more saying, you know what, honestly, I'm not gonna talk down to you. Stop being a boy and become a man. You wanna learn what that means? Come to church and I'll tell you what it means to become a man. Because we have the greatest story ever told. What can I do to save the country? You answer that question every single day, because you are doing the work to save this beautiful republic. You are doing something that is bigger than you.
If everything completely goes away, how do you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered for courage for my faith. That would be the most important thing. Most important thing is my faith in my life.
Please welcome the Vice President of Turning Point at CSU, Cammie Barnes.
Good evening. My name is Cami Barnes, and I am Vice President of Turning Point USA at CSU. I'm so excited to be able to meet all the amazing Republican governor candidates who truly do want the best for Colorado. Currently, Turning Point is grieving the loss of Charlie Kirk. I want you to know that his assassination has fired up the young generation of Republicans and Christians. We are stronger than ever and ready to get America back to what our founding fathers intended it to be: a country with strong borders, a strong economy, and full of people who are proud to be American. I'd like to take this time, thank you. I'd like to take this time to encourage all of you to continue to stand up for what you believe in. Get involved with groups like Turning Point, vote to make Colorado go red, and no matter what anybody tells you, do not back down. Turning Point has a spot for everybody to get involved with people of similar values and beliefs. And if you don't know where to start, reach out to the chapter closest to you. If you don't know what that is, reach out to me and I will help you find it. We will never turn down another member or another person that wants to help. The Colorado State chapter has some super exciting events coming up. I know surrounding chapters do as well. This week alone, I had the opportunity to help Timnath High School start their first chapter and attend the Lincoln Dinner with the Boulder County Republicans. Right now is a scary, crazy time, especially for those of us who align with Republican and Christian values. This is not the way that it's supposed to be. You should not have to be afraid to share your beliefs. I want to make sure all of you know that you are not alone in this. The fact that all of you are here today speaks volumes as to how big this Republican movement truly is. The new generation is ready to help in any way we can, and that starts by voting red and banding together to make the conservative changes that we want to see. Thank you so much for being here. I am honored to be able to speak with such incredible people in the room. Please reach out to a local Turning Point chapter and get involved. Please do not stop speaking your beliefs and do not stop speaking the truth. It's what Charlie would have wanted us to do. Thank you to the candidates who are trying to make Colorado better. The voters are beyond grateful. And finally, thank you from Turning Point and thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Please welcome former State Senator Kevin Lundberg with Protect Kids Colorado.
Thank you very much. I'm actually filling in for Erin Lee, who was scheduled to be here, but you might pray for her because she came down with COVID a few days ago, and now it's turned into pneumonia. So she can't be here, but let me just spend a couple of minutes. We're here because of the 2026 election and who will be running for governor. And we have an incredible lineup. This is a fantastic night. And they've given just a couple of minutes to talk about Protect Kids Colorado and what we're doing for the 2026 election as well. But it's not what we're doing, it's what you are doing. How many have actually, I'll kind of look around here, how many have actually signed the petitions that we have? Most everybody. Okay, if you are carrying a petition, would you please stand? Fantastic. I'm talking to the choir here. I love it. And you know what we're doing is very important, is going the exact opposite direction of what the legislature is doing, and that's because they're going the wrong way. And I believe that if we get these on the ballot, we're going to change the conversation for our 2026 election here in Colorado and make a big difference. You know, Charlie Kirk said, do something that's bigger than you. This is one of those moments. I ask you, if you've signed the petition, if you're carrying some of the petitions, reach out to your circle. Maybe you should be carrying a petition as well to make sure, you know, it's your church or other groups that they're involved as well, because this is a big task, but it's a big issue that's bigger than all of us. And yet it has to happen. I think it's one of the solutions that we have before us today to change the very culture here in Colorado. So thank you very much. I appreciate your coming here tonight and look forward to working with you for the next year.
Folks, just give us a few seconds to make a few adjustments on the stage. Moderating tonight's forum is Kim Munson. Let me tell you a little bit about her. Kim Munson is the host of 2 radio shows that broadcast out of the Denver market on all KLZ 560 platforms. You can hear the Kim Munson Show live Monday through Friday, 6 to 8 a.m. Kim searches for the truth and clarity as she dissects news, politics, and opinion through the lens of freedom versus force, force versus freedom. America's Veterans Stories broadcasts Sundays 3 to 4. Kim has interviewed over 250 World War II veterans, as well as veterans from our other wars and conflicts. Kim is the president of the Colorado Union of Taxpayers, which is an all-volunteer group standing in the gap for the taxpayer. TABOR, Colorado Taxpayers Bill of Rights, parental rights, and property rights. Additionally, Kim is the recipient of the 2016 Leader in Action Award from Leadership Program of the Rockies and the Vern Bickle Award for Grassroots Leadership from the Independence Institute. Kim is a former city councilman serving in Lone Tree, Colorado. My friend's Kim Munson. Tonight we are joined by about 12, I think, of the 19 Republican candidates running to be the next governor of Colorado. The candidates who are not in attendance this evening had scheduling conflicts and were offered multiple ways to participate but declined that opportunity. Please join me in welcoming to the stage in reverse alphabetical order your candidates vying for a place on the general election ballot. Please hold your applause until all candidates have entered. Mr. Kelvin K. Man Wimberly, Mr. Alexander Mugatu, Mr. Robert Moore, Teller County Sheriff Jason Mikesell, former Congressman Greg Lopez, State Senator Barb Kirkmeyer, Mr. John Gray Ginsburg, Mr. Jason Clark, Mr. John Brooks, Mr. Bob Brinkerhoff, State Representative Scott Bottoms, State Senator Mark Baisley.
It wouldn't be a live forum without some kind of technical challenge. So, welcome. I want to say thank you to Matt Johnson, who will be our timer, and I really appreciate you doing that, Matt. And I want to say thank you to each of you candidates for stepping forward. This is a big deal. And I want to say thank you to you and your families, because it's not just the individual, it's also the families. So thank you so much. Matt runs a really tight ship, and you will have 90 seconds for each of the questions as well as for your opening and closing statements. Matt will show you the green at 1 minute. At 1 minute and 15 seconds, he will show you the yellow. And at 1 minute 30 seconds, he'll escort you off the stage. Okay. So let's begin. We'll be somewhat random, but we will start with State Senator Mark Baisley. Will have the first question, and then we'll just go down the line, and then we'll start at the other end, then we'll start in the middle, so that everybody gets at least some shot at not being first or last. So Senator Baisley, let's begin with you with your opening statement, please.
Do you have a mic? Here we go.
Let's stop just a moment. Let's restart.
Micless.
Okay, here we go. Mark, sorry.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Kim, and thank you, Res Church, for hosting this. The Declaration of Independence states that government gets its power from the consent of the governed. So, who remembers giving the government your consent to control your children's sexuality? Or did you give the government your consent to control what medicines are vaccinated into you and your children? Or did you give them the consent to control your Second Amendment rights? I don't recall any of that being a consent. There are several appropriate responsibilities, of course, for state government. And I've been working quite a bit in the state legislature as a state house member, and now for the past 3 years in the state senate. And I work quite a bit with several of the agencies, and members of those agencies have been sharing with me lately that they would like to help me to trim back the waste out of state government. They know that change is coming, and they know where the bodies are buried. There's even former members of Governor Polis's staff, including his chief of staff, that have offered to help me to get that done. The biggest thing I will do, though, is to advance an amendment to the state constitution that will limit the powers of the state government, just like the powers of the federal government are limited. I want to bring Colorado back into the fold of the American dream. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Baisley. Representative Scott Bottoms, your opening remarks.
Thank you. Well, we know in every single metric that the state of Colorado is messed up. They're coming after our kids, they're coming after our freedoms, Second Amendment rights, crime second in the nation, sixth most regulated state in the United States. There's no metric in Colorado right now that we're doing good or in an upward trend. We are becoming the most, and I believe we've already slipped into the most liberal state in the United States. We have to have the change, but here's the good news. We are seeing Democrats all over across the state of Colorado that they're showing us, and we're seeing from my analytics, but also personal stories, that they are also tired, and that we're going to see many Democrats that are going to vote for a Republican governor. Even had a major Democrat lobbyist that said to me back in April that the Democrats know they're going to lose all 4 state seats. Because it's governor, secretary of state, attorney general, and treasurer. We know we're going to turn Colorado. We've got to take the opportunity now, because without a turn in 26, there is no 28. We've got to take this now. We've got to have strong leadership. I've proven this in the House. I've proven this as a pastor for 35 years, that it does take strong leadership. And I do have the plan. It's on my website. You can go to it and just walk down the 6 priorities that we're going to be changing throughout the state of Colorado, because this is our time, this is our moment, and we're going to turn Colorado in 26. Stand with us, and we can do this.
Thank you. Thank you, Representative Scott Bottoms. Now, Bob Brinkerhoff.
Hello, my name is Bob Brinkerhoff. I served the Colorado State Patrol from 1979 to 2005 on the western slope of Colorado. I've been retired for over 20 years. I'm now 70 years old. I didn't really think I needed a job, but God came to my house a little bit before Christmas last and told me, "I want you to run for governor." I said, "That's just about impossible. I don't have any name recognition. I don't have any political clout. I think it's just about impossible, if not completely impossible. I don't think I can do that." He immediately said, "You told me all I had to do was ask." Yeah, I did. About a half a dozen times in 2024 when I was praying. I told him that if there was anything I could do for him, all he had to do was ask. I just had to know that it was him that was asking. So he just told me, "Who's asking?" I said, "I sure am going to need a lot of help. I'm going to need a tremendous amount of help." And he said, "I will be with you always." It wasn't what I was expecting to hear, but it was good enough.
Thank you, Bob Brinkerhoff. John Brooks, your opening remarks.
last 25 years in technology, it's hard to find the on button for a microphone. So my name's John Brooks. I have absolutely no name recognition. My background, just to give you a quick idea, is all designed around, for this particular office, one thing: bringing fresh perspectives to the office of governor, which brings fresh visions, fresh ideas, fresh approaches. Those are things that we need to be doing in the state to be able to take us forward. Now, my background has 15 years of executive experience in both public and private sector emergency services operations as a firefighter, fire lieutenant, paramedic, and chief of paramedic operations, where I took enterprises that were government agencies and brought them back to profitability again by doing several different tactics, including expanding our operational models that actually built our operational services up and made money, and we're no longer a burden for the taxpayers. And for the last 25 years, I've worked in technology that's taken me to 85 countries and over 300 operators and governments around the world, taking technology into those operations and actually doing things to increase our ability to produce a great deal of technology benefits to over 1 billion people worldwide. That said, I want to take that exact same intensity back into this office. This is a good time for us as Republicans to be able to get back in and bring our state back on track, be able to grab our freedoms and bring them back into the state again, be able to take our schools and our energy and our education and all these other facets, of which my plan, which is called A Contract with Coloradans, has over 14 points in it right now that we have plans for. I hope you join me.
Thank you, John Brooks. Jason Clark, your opening remarks.
Jason Clark, go Broncos.
Hi, I'm John Frederick Gray Ginsburg. I'm from Colorado. My father is an attorney on Main Street Parker. His office has been there since 1977, and he's the one that threw me under the bus, making me go into politics. I work in the IT business, and my company has serviced companies such as Raytheon, where we were ITAR certified. I've worked for Disney as a contractor. I've worked for the USDA as a contractor in Craig, Colorado, for computers. My company is a computer specialist in computers, and we've been in Summit County since 1997. I have a 21-point plan for domestic and an 18-point plan for foreign operations. As you have 14, I have 21 and 18. One of my main plans is to bring CU up into Summit County, so we have a branch of CU for graduate and undergraduate students in Summit County. That brings a lot of money into the state. My whole plan is to bring jobs in for everyone. I work in the computer business. We fix computers. We don't make viruses, we fix them. And the whole plan is to create a new 3D printed future world for Colorado, where the computers work for Colorado, because now they're broken. I want to bring up the fact that I'm running for office because the municipal elections in Frisco, Colorado were canceled in 2024 and 2018, where I was trying to run for office. And because they were canceled by Phil Weiser and Jared Polis, where they signed off on canceling elections for no reason to stay in power, I'm now running against them. Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, John Gray Ginsburg. Senator Barbara Kirkmeyer, your opening remarks, please.
Thank you. You've heard it. Our state is unaffordable, it's unsafe, and it's unraveling. For the last 7 years, one-party controlled Democrats have been in charge, and they've made a mess out of our state. You know, this race is going to boil down to who's the best equipped to take the fight to the Democrats and get our state back on track. I have a solid record of making a difference, and it's always been against the odds. As a state senator in the minority, I passed the bill to cut property taxes, largest property tax cut in our state's history. I also passed the bill to fund up to $35 million a year for the next 10 years to fund, not defund, but to fund our local government police. Thank you. As a county commissioner, I led my county to zero debt and reduced property taxes. I cut regulations. I cut regulations, cut red tape. I made my county a Second Amendment sanctuary county. And that road out there, that I-25 that probably caused you some issues, that was a project that I created a coalition, and we're building I-25 and we're getting it completed. I know it's been a pain, but we're one of the only places in the state that's actually getting our crumbling roads fixed. I believe Coloradoans are ready for a new direction. I believe they're ready for a new governor. They're ready. It's time. It's time that we have a governor who knows how to govern. My name is Barb Kirkmeyer. I'm running for governor, and I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Kirkmeyer. Former Congressman Greg Lopez, your opening remarks.
You know, my fellow Republicans, we gather here tonight, not only as Republicans, but as Americans, because we care about our nation. We care about what America stands for. You know, for the last 8 years, we've seen Colorado shift. We've seen it become the ugly twin sister of California, under the rule of a major party that has tried to do everything it can to erase our values, to take God out of our public square, to take parents out of the lives of their children, to take small business and make them suffer, to make small individuals, the small business community, as well as the younger generation, question, is there still an American dream? Folks, I'm here to tell you that it is time for us to say enough. Enough. It is time for us to make Colorado, Colorado again. It's time for us to make sure that our values is what makes the day. Our worldview is what's going to make Colorado prosper again. We will bring parents' rights back to the families. We will improve our roads. And we will make sure that every community is safe. Folks, one of the things that we must do is always protect each other. The one thing that we must never forget is that we together need to create a movement, people over politics. I'm not here to play politics, folks. It's about people. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, former Congressman Greg Lopez. Now, Mr. Jason Mikesell.
Hi, my name's Jason Mikesell. I am running for governor. Here's what I'll tell you. How many of you are tired with a single party rule in Colorado? Right? How many of you have businesses in Colorado? Well, here's the one thing I can tell you people don't know about me is I've scaled a company. I have multiple small businesses with my wife and I, and we run restaurants and different things. The issue that I've had in business is that they've torn down is they keep creating more legislative acts. They're creating more fees, more taxes, and they're taking away your rights from your county governments to give you the building capabilities. All those things are destroying Colorado. The other side of it, though, I'm also a law enforcement officer, and I've been a sheriff, or I am a sheriff. And the thing is, I will tell you, I have fought for Colorado residents multiple times through the state legislature and the state government. I am the only sheriff to have a 287G program. I am the sheriff that made or helped write the bill to try to push back the immigration policies. They called it the anti-teller law because of me. So here's the thing. I want my Colorado back. I want my businesses back. I want my kids to have good times in schools and have the abilities to grow here in Colorado. If you want your Colorado back and you want that investment in what your children do, your businesses do, and safe streets, because we have horrible streets right now, vote with me, invest in me, and I'll bring back your Colorado just like my Colorado.
Thank you, Jason Mikesell. Robert Moore.
Thank you, and thanks to all of you for being here. It's really important that you're here, and this is your time, so we'll make it worth your while, I'm certain. I got to tell you, as I'm listening to these candidates, about any one of these would do so much better than the Jared Polis that we got in that governor's office up there, right? I mean, every one of these, right? So good. And, I was really inspired by that video we just saw of Charlie Kirk. It's such an inspiration. I did not know until I just saw that his big dream in life was actually to go to the military academy at West Point. I didn't know until I just saw that. And I'm sorry he didn't get to do that, but he went on to accomplish greater things. I actually did graduate from high school and went on to the military academy myself at West Point, where I started my Army career and served and led troops in combat in Iraq and Afghanistan. And so I know how to fight. And I think this battle ahead of us is going to be a fight. And I think we really got to have a warrior and a fighter to be able to lead us to victory against those Democrats. I really do. Now, while I was taking some time off, a break from the service, I also got into business, and I helped got in on the ground floor of building up Compaq Computer Corporation that was purchased by HP. While I was at Compaq, I actually had to go back out there to Congress, testify before Congress, to make it more of a business-friendly environment for startups like ours, and I want to do that for Colorado. I want lower taxes here. I want lower crime. I want a business-friendly environment for this state. And as Carl was telling me, that the cherry on the top, we got to fix our roads, bridges, and highways. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Robert Moore. Alexander Lugatu, your opening remarks.
Good evening, everyone, and I want to echo Mark Baisley when he thanked Res Church for hosting the event, and I want to thank Trent, Keith, and Sandra for inviting us and creating this beautiful event here tonight. Thomas Jefferson once said that we do not have a government by a majority, we have a government by a majority that participate. So give yourselves a round of applause for participating in tonight's discussion. I'm Alex Mugatu, and like some of my other candidates here, my colleagues, I do not have the name recognition up in northern Colorado, but I'm pretty infamous in southern Colorado. I'm a native-born son of Pueblo. I'm a Hispanic. I'm a Hispanic and a lifelong Republican from Pueblo, so that basically makes me a unicorn in this race. So I'm in this race because COVID was the last straw. You know, I got involved. I actually got my start in Republican politics right here in Larimer County. I lived in Fort Collins for 2 years of my life. I started my business in Fort Collins, and I started walking and knocking on doors for Marilyn Musgrave, who had a profound impact on my political philosophy moving forward. I want to eliminate residential property tax. I want to restore the Colorado Promise. I want to make sure that Coloradans, full-time Colorado residents, do no longer have to lease their homes and their legacy from your government in order to keep it. Along with all of the issues that my colleagues on this stage, they're all valid, and we'll look forward to getting into that discussion moving forward. Thank you.
Alexander Lukachu, thank you so much. And Kelvin Wimberly.
Well, hello, everybody. Great to see you. Thank you for participating in this. And I'm going for governor of Colorado, and I am one that came from Oklahoma. I came from Oklahoma when I was 4 years old. I've been here for 56 years. I've been paying attention to what's been going on since I was 9 years old, when my mom gave me an understanding that Oklahoma and Colorado weren't the only nations in the world. So since that time, I went to Bear Creek High School, for the Bear Creek Bears, and I want my state back. I not only want my state back, I want it better. And it's time for us to get the state back, because what is going on with this defeminizing women, young little ladies, and emasculating men, that got to go. And as governor, I would say no way, nowhere, no how. I would definitely say no. We need to go ahead. Now, what I learned from all that time is that you got to give incentives for, you have to have incentives for business to want to stay here. Because we end up going into recession because of this lack of incentives for business. So they started leaving in the 70s. So I want to come up with ideas, get with people, listen, and come up with ideas that's going to give incentive for business, not only come here, but to go into Pueblo, go into areas to go ahead and have business and stuff. So thank you so very much, and purposing into greatness. Colorado, all red, huh? Colorado red. Let's go for it. Yeah.
Thank you, Kelvin Wimberly. We will begin with our questions, and we will begin with you, Mr. Wimberly. Crime. Recently, U.S. News and World Report reported that Colorado ranked as the third most dangerous state in the country. At the end of last year, Newsweek reported that Colorado has the most car thefts per capita of all U.S. states, according to 2019-2023 data from the FBI crime data. This explosion of crime in Colorado is the direct result of terrible public policy decisions by this governor and many radical legislators in the Colorado State Legislature. If elected Colorado governor, how will you make our communities safe again?
For one thing, I would stop tying the behind their back so they can't do what law enforcement needs to do. I've had bad experience, but that's no justification. Most of the police officers are cool. Most of them are very nice. And, you know, we got to give them the opportunity to do what they need to do, the rest of the people. This is shenanical what's going on in California. Let these people go ahead and just rob and not do anything about it. That's shenanical. And that's irresponsible. And as governor of Colorado, I would give our opportunity for our police officers to do what they need to do with the accountability code, do what they need to do, and encourage them and stuff. And I always say to the police officers, I generally pray for them, and when I pray for them, I pray that the good ones weed out the bad ones. And you know what? I have a great relationship with them. I've had a bad situation. But you know what? That's not a reason for me to hate the police. So I love the police. I appreciate them. Let them do their job so we can go ahead and have a safe citizenship.
Thank you, Kelvin Wimberly. Alexander Mugachu.
You know, I would echo what Kelvin just said. Empowering local police is one thing, but from a state perspective, you know, the legislation that comes out of the Capitol, that proves to bind our law enforcement at all levels here. Take, for example, the law that was passed earlier this year, where it's going to be illegal for any state official to aid in the ICE deportation efforts. I think that there needs to be a way around that. Clearly, we're not going to have a honeymoon period when we get into the governor's mansion, if any one of us makes it that far. There has to be a workaround until we get a viable majority in the legislature to repeal some of that nastiness that the legislature had passed. For example, what I would do as governor is I would empower state and local law enforcement to work with our federal agents. Let the Attorney General, God forbid we have another Democrat like Phil Weiser, do what they're going to do. And if there is some kind of lawfare that comes towards our law enforcement, I would just turn around and pardon them, plain and simple.
Thank you, Alexander Mugachu. Robert Moore.
Yes, thank you, Kim, for that question. Crime was one of my top three priorities, and I looked at that quite a bit. And I think it's relatively straightforward to fix this, I really do, with just a few things. First of all, we've got to make sure that we are tough on crime and not soft on crime like we have been. Second of all, we need to probably remove the sanctuary state, sanctuary city status that we seem to have here, right? That's easy to get rid of. You know, you saw our Attorney General, Pam Bondi, send Jared Polis a letter saying you got to stop being a sanctuary state. He sends a letter back that says we're not really a sanctuary state. Yes, we are. So we can pretty much, with the right governor, get rid of that. Now, here's the really important thing. We've really got to back our law enforcement officers, and they've got to know that we have their back. You know, they've got to know that we will use the entire power of the office of the governor to back our law enforcement officers. Phil Weiser, you know, sued that deputy sheriff in one of our counties for participating, cooperating with ICE. They've got to know that we'll be there for them, and if that means giving some type of a pardon if it's appropriate, that might be the right thing to do, just so they know they're not going to get in trouble. And to be honest with you, to get rid of the worst, which are a lot of the, you know, illegal immigrant criminals that are here, we can do that just by cooperating with ICE. Let the federal authorities get rid of them. We don't even have to spend any manpower on that. They can do it if we just would cooperate with them, and we can do that. They'll have the backing and all the force of the office of the governor if we get a Republican there.
Thank you, Robert Moore. Jason Mikesell.
Well, here's what I can tell you. The state of Colorado has an interesting idea on how it needs to deal with its law enforcement, and it's usually very negative. You have to support your law enforcement. Coming from a sheriff, here's the issue on why crime has risen so much in Colorado. And you got to think, assaults on women are one of the highest in the United States. Car thefts are through the roof. Our immigration issues are a huge problem in Colorado. You have to roll back those laws. That's why I'm part of those lawsuits now. Here's the other issue in Colorado. Most people don't understand what's happening is an administrative level from the governor. What he's doing is he's allowing people that are put on parole and probation to be released back into communities to offset his budget costs, which increases our debt for the state of Colorado by releasing them back into communities and making counties now have to pay their tax money to house them and re-prosecute them. I have people that end up in our jail over 18 times after they've been put on probation and parole for multiple crimes. That is the problem in Colorado. So you have to understand the baseline of what it really is. Building coalitions with sheriffs, which I've done across the state of Colorado, fighting back against the illegal narcotics that come into our state, and I understand and identifying that we have cartels in this state. Not from a state level where they want to hide those issues, but we need to be clear and concise. The other thing is we need to go to the legislature, and we have to allow real stakeholder meetings when laws happen, not allow state legislative bodies to tell us that there's no such thing as crime, because that's happened multiple times when I fought for laws. Those are the issues and why Colorado has those problems. That's how we fix it. We support our law enforcement, and we start having real stakeholder conversations, and we support our local law enforcement again. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason Meixel. Greg Lopez.
It's true. We all know that our communities are not safe. But you have to ask yourself, where did we go wrong? Where did we stop caring about our communities? And I will tell you, it's when we decided that the criminals are more important than the victims. When we decided that, you know what, we don't need to punish those that are not following the rules. We need to make sure that we are compassionate to them. I think that is wrong. That is not what the state should do. As governor, I'm going to make sure that we have harsh penalties for those that are committing crimes, for those that are taking our property, for those that are doing the things that we know as a society is not supposed to be happening. Look, qualified immunity to our police officers was the first thing that they took away from our streets. Our police officers now are questioned, really, should I stop someone, or is it going to cost me and my family $25,000 if I get wrongfully accused? This is what we need to stop going through when we are working with our police officers. We need to support them. You need to support them. You need to make sure that you are making sure that they know that we have their back. Look, we will work with the legislature because it's important. We need to roll back a lot of these stupid laws that they've passed. Look, I've told you once and I'll tell you again, we do not want to be California. We are the ugly twin sister of it, and the way we change it is by being bold and courageous. That's what a governor should do.
Thank you. Senator Barbara Kirkmeyer.
Thank you. First of all, the governor doesn't have legislative powers, so we don't get to go and try and pass bills as governor. That's what we do as legislators. So I will, one, enforce the law that I did get passed as a state senator that allows for $35 million a year for the next 10 years, so $350 million to support training, testing, recruitment, and retention of our law enforcement officers at the local level. I'll continue with that and make sure that the funding is there. Second, I will make sure and fund our mental institutions to ensure that we have beds for those people who are deemed incompetent, that they have the ability, and we have the ability to put them into a mental institution. Next, yes, we do need to repeal those sanctuary laws that are in place. Absent of that, absent of not being able to work with the legislature, because I'm not sure that it will be that friendly towards a Republican governor, I will challenge in court, if necessary, the conflict and the validity between state law and federal law when it comes to our sanctuary laws that have been passed in this state. And lastly, I will work with and continue to work with the sheriffs, the district attorneys, and the police chiefs to make any amount of possession of fentanyl, cocaine, methane, or heroin a felony so that we can get those low-life, low-level drug dealers off the street. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Kirkmeyer. John Gray Ginsburg.
Hi. So I want to put another swing on this. Unfortunately, we have the cartels in Colorado, and I'm accusing them of canceling the elections in my hometown. Now, as far as sheriffs go, I want to bring up the movie Fury, and the lead actor in the movie Fury is the sheriff in Summit County. So when people ask me who canceled the elections in Summit County in the years 2018 and 2024, I tell them it's Jamie Fitzsimmons, who's an actor in the movie Fury with Brad Pitt, along with other movies, and I reference him as a bad actor. I completely empathize and sympathize with police officers in Colorado because it's such a dangerous job. It is the most dangerous job in the world, I think. At my website, I reference several of the channels that are published by law enforcement and by fire departments so you can watch for yourself and sympathize with the law enforcement. I believe in using AI to help law enforcement, whether it's a robot dog that just chases someone and drags them down. That's what the Chinese are doing. I recommend that we start to use robotics in police work to make it safer for police and safer for the people, because the police are being forced to shoot people where a robot dog that Boston Dynamics creates or a Tesla robot that Tesla creates can help in this. I work with computers. I recommend this. Again, my website is www.grayginsburgforcogov.com. I go into detail on my website. It's so much easier to use the internet to talk about these 21 plans for Colorado to bring jobs. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for having me tonight.
Thank you, John Gray Ginsburg. Let's see, Jason Clark.
Yes, I'm confused as to why this is a difficult question. I was 16, was going to Smoky Hill High School. That's 40 years ago. And me and my buddies would be out driving our cars, and the cops would be pulling us over. got daddy's car tonight. And we're like, no, officer, we have paper routes. We get up at 3 in the morning. We own our own cars. My point is, stop going after people for traffic violations and ridiculous violations on E470 and go after the criminals. Real simple.
Thank you. John Brooks.
Well, after running close to 10,000 911 responses over the years in high volume Denver metro districts, I've been in active shooter situations. I've been in a lot of these situations where, as a paramedic, we're wearing bulletproof vests, and that's just wrong. But that's the reality where we live in. It was not unusual for us to take a rescue back to our quarters and have a bullet hole in it as a paramedic, not as a police officer. So first of all, we back the blue. We back law enforcement, and we want to make that a career that's sought after again, where we don't have the problem with recruitment or retention that we currently have. We're also going to fight every district attorney that has soft on crime policies. Crime needs to hurt, period. If something is not fun for you to do, you're not going to do it again. And that's a problem that we currently have within some of our crime and punishment mantras that are being practiced by some of our county district attorneys, especially in the larger metro areas. So we'll put pressure on that to make sure that that is actually rescinded. And one of the things that we need to think about is that the irony of incarceration is something that a lot of discussions aren't happening around. Think for the fact that if you are actually committing a lot of crime and it hurts to do it, you actually lower jail populations because people aren't going to want to be there. That's an unknown statistic that's actually out there. But at the same time, we also need to look at mental health being more aggressively managed, especially in schools. We need to revisit who needs incarceration, who needs rehabilitation. We also need to revisit who is actually doing and who is receiving the training within our corrections department right now, because the training within our corrections community is not very good.
Thank you, John Brooks. Bob Brinkerhoff.
Folks, we need to get back to following the Constitution of the state of Colorado. The current governor, under Article 4, Section 2, is responsible to make sure that the laws of this state are enforced. That's his job. He's the top law enforcement officer in the state of Colorado, and he hasn't done it. We've got people that are committing felonies in this state. In fact, I know one person that committed 3 felonies and perjury, and the district attorney in that county would not prosecute the man. When you've got crimes, felonies even, that aren't being prosecuted, they tell you to go hire a lawyer and sue the guy? Where does it say that in the Constitution of this state? It does not. They're totally ignoring the Constitution of this state. And in the law reviews under that Article 4, Section 2, it said that the governor is also responsible to make sure that these people are prosecuted. That means that he's got a little bit of a responsibility to make sure that we got district attorneys in this state that are doing their job. These people that are currently holding office need to be replaced.
Thank you, Bob Brinkerhoff. Representative Scott Bottoms.
The problem that we have here is bigger than just local law enforcement or those kind of things. This is a mindset, a culture in Colorado that we have to change. We have a leftist group of leaders in the House and the Senate and in the governor's office that think crime running rampant on the streets is good for them. We know this because they gave $500 million in a bill that was passed this last spring that I think every Republican fought against, that literally is saying, we're gonna give this to illegal immigrants and let crime run free. We need to fund police more. We need to have the development of training. We need to put the priority, though, in a cultural sense, that the police are the good guys, and they've been painted as the bad guys for too long. That's part of the problem with our crime. I voted against a bill last year. It was 1034. I was one of 2 representatives or senators, one of two in the entire House, to vote against this, that is now letting criminals back out on the street because we just declare them to be incompetent. I could look down the road. I saw this coming. I debated that on the floor because we are passing laws. We are leading in the state of Colorado to hurt people. And if you cannot have the mental shift to say, yes, these are bad people, I'm talking the leaders in the House, the Senate, and the governor's office, the majority party, they are hurting us, but they are doing it intentionally. And until we go at them and we say this is no longer allowed in the state of Colorado, we will stand. When I put my hand on the Bible to swear in as governor, the National Guard will surround that Venezuelan cartel. The rules of our engagement will be anything it takes to get them out of there. We can stop this right now.
Thank you, Representative Bottoms. Senator Mark Baisley.
Thank you, Kim. 4 years ago, the Democrats passed a bill that made it illegal for our law enforcement to work with federal government, with ICE and so on. So last year, 2024, I was the Senate sponsor of a bill that would reverse that law. Of course, the Democrats did not take kindly to that one, so I ran it again this year, early this year, as a Senate bill. And the Democrats not only did not pass that bill, but they doubled down, and they added another law that said not only do the law enforcement cannot work with ICE, but neither can our court employees. Now, this puts our court employees and our law enforcement in the position of having to choose between a Colorado law, following a Colorado law and breaking the federal law, or vice versa. They're put in that position of having to break a law. So the way the answer to your question, Kim, of how do you solve this, is we have to reverse those actual laws, and we cannot do that unless we own all three legs of the stool. So let's win the governor's race next year. Let's gain as many seats back in the House and the Senate as we possibly can. But by 2028, I am bound and determined that we will gain the majority in the House and the majority in the Senate, and while having the governor's office, because that's what it will take to reverse all of those terrible bills. We can do this. This is our winning back Colorado for America. So that's the answer. Let's get all that done. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Mark Baisley. We are, with our next question, cost of living, we will begin with you, John Brooks, and then we will go this way and then come back around. Here's the question. Colorado has become less and less affordable for Coloradans because of government-induced inflation, high taxes, high fees, overregulation, and a very expensive and growing bureaucratic state. If elected governor, how will you make everyday life more affordable for hardworking Coloradans?
I want to make sure I heard you correctly in that you're coming to me on that first. A little bit of an echo. So affordability and cost of living is something that we need to look at from several different facets. And one of those facets is not, let's go build an apartment building, house 50 families, put up a podium and a ribbon and a big pair of scissors and cut it and say, look what we've done to solve the problem. That doesn't solve the problem when there are 2 million people that are looking for affordable housing and affordability in the state in general. What we need to be doing is revisiting what's been happening right now around enterprise zones and opportunity zones between Polis and also the federal side that have been very, very ineffective, and instead move towards economic attractiveness zones that will actually look towards bringing industry more into the state and investment into the state. When this current administration has put together trillions of dollars of investment, where's our delegation going to Washington to get that money here? Where's our delegation to go through and attract that investment coming here? That investment actually brings in the builders, that brings in the infrastructure, that brings in the dollars, that brings in all of the resources necessary to produce affordable housing. It's important to note that affordable housing should start not where it's unaffordable, but build on where it's already affordable, which is going to be the non-metro perimeter areas outside of the Denver metro area. And then from there, we can continue to build on from there. That does not mean drop a 10,000 person factory in the middle of Flagler, but it does mean go through and continue to expand industry further out of the metro area where currently it's not good to live in. That's not where the safer communities are.
Thank you, John Brooks. Jason Clark, how will you make everyday life more affordable for hardworking Coloradans?
I want to make sure I'm in the right crowd. We're Republicans, right? There is absolutely nothing the government can ever do for housing prices. Nothing. There's never been any government anywhere, not in the United States or anywhere in the world, that's been able to lower housing prices. You can produce income. People can make more money than they can afford the rent. But the government's not going to do anything for this. Again, I want to remind you, we're Republicans, not Democrats.
Thank you. John Gray Ginsburg.
Hi, I want to point out there was the GI Bill, and that did build. And there was also the New Deal under FDR. One of my plans is to build a pipeline from the Gulf of Mexico to Colorado, dump the water into the Colorado River and the Arkansas River, and let it percolate back down like a big Keystone pipeline of water, and use desalination to take out the salts that are used for batteries in between. I'm all about build, build, build in Colorado. I've come from a family of builders. I work for builders in my computer company. I build software. I build computers. It's about jobs, building, building. Now we're going to have Europe and Asia who will want to invest in Colorado to avoid tariffs. So a big plan is to bring in car manufacturers, battery manufacturers, and Space Command. Even though we lost Space Command to Alabama, the Europeans want to spend on Space Command here because we're with NATO. And it's all about jobs, jobs, jobs. The more jobs, the more tax money. It's that simple. This current regime, they don't think about that. They do. They think about how much they can charge in rent. They don't really think about building, though. Their idea of building is not exactly what the community needs. We need to build, build, build. We need to build more houses. We need to make regulations that make safe housing but allow housing to be built quickly. I believe in the 3D printing processes that are being used right now around the world. I think they would be very effective in Colorado. Once again, it's about jobs, jobs, jobs. And being in the computer business, that's what my business does. We support businesses, and if it wasn't for our support, some businesses would never make it. And we intend to use the same principles to fix Colorado's computers and make jobs. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, John Gray Ginsburg. Senator Barbara Kirkmeyer.
Thank you. Could you just repeat the question real quickly? I'm sorry.
Colorado has become less and less affordable for Coloradans because of government-induced inflation, high taxes, high fees, overregulation, and a very expensive and growing bureaucratic state. If elected governor, how will you make everyday life more affordable for hardworking Coloradans?
So thank you. How to make it more affordable? Well, I already told you that I carried the bill to cut property taxes, the largest property tax cut in the state of Colorado. I will continue to look for ways to cut taxes. I will present a budget that actually cuts fees and balances our budget, and at the same time stops the overspending that's been going on in this state for the last 7 years. Also, I would work to redefine the boards and commissions that we have in this state, which is something the governor can actually do, and then go back in and redefine the regulations to make it so our businesses can be more viable and they have a place called Colorado where they can actually do business, and that would make it so it be more affordable. And lastly, I will partner with local governments, especially cities and counties, water districts and sewer districts, to ensure that we are partnering to work together to find real solutions to our affordable housing issues in this state. Last thing we want to have happen is a legislative branch full of 100 people and the governor deciding what the character of your neighborhood is and what your neighborhood looks like and how your neighborhood will grow. So those are the things that I would do. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Kirkmeyer. Former Congressman Greg Lopez.
Let's be clear. Government doesn't make money, it takes money. And it takes it from you and me. When you look at why is everything costing so much, it's because government is spending money it doesn't have. And so where does it get its money? It increases our fees, increases our taxes. It's always dipping into our pockets. You know, this special session that just happened, there was nothing special about it. It was more of like a pickpocket session. They reached in our pockets and took out money. Small business will struggle because of this situation. Look, one of the things that the governor does is he has the ability to present a budget, someone that can understand the cost of what does it mean to be a governor and how to provide these services. I've experienced in that. One of the things that's wrong with the state of Colorado when it comes to the budget, they do baseline budgeting. What does that mean? That means that they don't even talk about last year's expenses. They only talk about what they're going to add this year. We got to go to zero-based budgeting. Let's evaluate every single dollar, where it's going. And folks, we got to reevaluate the Public Utilities Commission because your electric bill, your gas bill, everything's going up. We need to reevaluate where we're spending our money as a government and make sure that you get bigger and better Tabor refunds. That's why Tabor is there, and that's what we need to do is make sure it gives back to the people.
Thank you, former Congressman Greg Lopez. Now, Jason Meixell.
So I think there's a difference. If you look at Bennett's plan on the Democratic side, he talks about affordable housing. What he's talking about is low-income government housing. And he's talking about stealing your local spaces, your free spaces, and taking it and moving it to that type of housing. What we're really looking at is attainable housing. We want our starter homes and our family homes to be cheaper so that you can do those. And how do you do that? You've got to reduce the fees in this state for the cost of your water treatment plants. That's what's driving those water treatment plants to be so expensive that now you're looking at a $65,000 water tap fee. The other side of it too is how many people want to have electric charging ports in their house? Because right now the state of Colorado is telling you that you have to have it, and they're making local governments have to push it through their building codes. I know because I build small homes. My lumber packs 10 years ago were $35,000 to build a home. Now that same lumber pack's $135,000. But to drop those prices on all those things that are attainable in Colorado, we have to protect our ag community. We need to become producers. We need to drive our economy in-state and allow our ag community and our ranchers to develop and sell within the state. We need to give them the tax credits to do so if they sell in-state and bring it in-state. We need to stop allowing consumers out of Denver telling producers in Colorado that they can't drive buildings, industry, and everything else that we do in Colorado. That's how we make Colorado more affordable. Because not only is it just your building costs, it's buying eggs at the store for local people. It's all those things. So that's how we fix it.
Thank you, Jason Mikesell. Robert Moore.
Thank you so much for that question. That is really a difficult. Let me add just some statistics for everybody. According to University of Colorado Business School, in December of last year, we've gone from the 5th most growing economy in the country to the 41st. That's just a fact. I mean, we've really dropped down. We are now ranked as the 6th most overregulated state for businesses. And so this is what's choking all of us to death, our businesses and all of us, and making it unaffordable. But I think with the right leadership, it's an easy fix. You know, I talked to my friend, one of my friends, Mark. He owns a small business, and he has to report the number of plastic to-go containers that go out of his restaurant every night. I mean, it's just ridiculous, the amount of overregulation that we have. So I think the answer to this and my strategy would be fairly straightforward, and that is we're going to have to stimulate businesses. As I told you, I went back to, when I was helping to build up Compact, I went back to Congress to draft some legislation and testify to make it a little more business friendly. We can do that here, and I think that we can also reduce taxes. My plan would be to cut tax. Do you know that Mississippi voted in March of this year to reduce all state income tax? Do you know that our state income tax went up 50%? 50% in the last year? 50%, and that's unsustainable. We've got to reduce those taxes. We can do it if they can do it down south. I know we can do it up here. By reducing taxes, we give you more disposable income. By being business friendly, we promote and stimulate business. The business of Colorado is business. We've got to let that thrive and prosper.
Thank you, Robert Moore. Alexander Mugachu.
You know, I think a good place to start is an actual elimination of residential property tax. You know, Barb, God bless you for trying. A reduction isn't good enough. We shouldn't have to lease our home, our livelihood, and our legacy from our own government in order to keep it. I think that's a good place to start. Now to echo what Greg said about the PUC and the Public Utilities Commission, I think there's a lot that we can do by creating a free market energy economy in Colorado, by reopening oil and gas, reestablishing clean coal, opening the door to small-scale nuclear, and dare I even suggest anything that Trump favors right now, but expand our water storage facilities and retrofit those facilities with hydroelectric power. That'll create jobs in the construction, the maintenance, and the operation, as well as the distribution in so many different industries. I think that's a good place to start. There's a lot of wisdom on this stage, and I think we're all starting to sound very similar, so I do not envy the choice that you guys are going to be forced to make in a couple of months, but it's a choice that needs to be made. So there are things that we can do as governor. I do believe that, to Barb's point here, the governor does not pass laws, but that shouldn't stop us from being able to set the agenda itself. That shouldn't stop us from being able to push forward legislation, get a sitting legislator to introduce that and run it through the process so that we can get the ball rolling on a lot of these things.
Thank you, Alexander Mugachu. Kelvin Wimberly.
You know, I love everything that everyone's saying here. for the most part. But how many of us would like to see Made in Colorado? I know I do. I love seeing Made in Colorado. We shouldn't have to even rely upon the federal government if we plan it right. And the governor is the one that kind of sets the edge. The governor sets the edge for the whole momentum of the entire state. And as a governor, I would want to go ahead and make sure that the businesses are attracted here. I learned from being here that we lost a lot of business in the 70s because we had this status quo mentality and not wanting business. You got to have business. You got to have population growth. You have to encourage business to come here. And my brother here, excuse me if you don't mind me saying brother, but he in Pueblo, Eric County needs specific industry. What we need to do is give the incentives for the businesses to go to those areas. We need to go ahead and drill, baby, drill. We need to go ahead and have some kind of enterprise system or cooperation between colleges, governments, and everything else to try to give incentive for kids and to give them the technology, getting the science, math, and technology to give them the trade and the foundation to be able to go ahead and start business that is going to affect us in the future.
Thank you, Kelvin Wimberly. Senator Mark Baisley.
Is it my turn?
Is this on? Oh, there we are. Thank you, Kim. So this is there are multiple reasons why costs are so high, and it's all the Democrats' fault. Always blame the Democrats. If you forgot to bring milk home tonight, blame the Democrats for that. There's multiple reasons. Now, the inflation part is always government spending. It's an unnatural insertion of the government into natural law of commerce, of free enterprise markets. So we got to whittle down the size of government. So in my plan of putting guardrails around the government, changing the Constitution that makes government smaller through finite list of powers, we will reduce inflation through a smaller government. Also, just when people have good job opportunities, then they can afford life better. Affordable housing doesn't become such an issue if you've got good paying jobs, good paying opportunities. So I've spent a lot of my energies in the legislature in trying to bring good jobs to Colorado and been successful in that on several fronts. We've also, was brought up here earlier, excuse me, a lot of allergies going on up here for a couple of us. How many of you received that fat property tax bill a couple of years ago? And it wasn't just you, the property owners, also the renters. Now, I have a plan for removing the value, the assessed value of your
Senator
property
Baisley.
out of that formula. That will fix that.
Thank you. Representative Scott Bottoms.
So we do have a major economic issue going on in Colorado, and Senator Baisley's right. It's the Democrats' fault. Anytime you have inflation, that's government intrusion. We need to get the government out of this thing. We are still a coal, oil, and gas state. We're still a farming and ranching state, and we have been demoralizing those. The governor hates farming and ranching. His husband got the Wolf Bill thing done just to attack ranching. We've got to stop this, and we've got to put the emphasis back on this. 70% of all of our beef comes from somewhere outside of Colorado. That makes no sense. We need small nuclear reactors, but we need to vote on that at the local level. And along with the small nuclear reactors, because of the power push, I think we can also develop data centers. Most people don't know Colorado is a sister to Taiwan, where all of your technology is happening there. We are already almost there. We can put data centers all over, and we've got to stop the spending. We were in $1.2 billion in debt when we started this year. And at the end of session, supposedly we passed a balanced budget. I do not agree that we did. I think it's a shell game. I voted against it because 35 days later, we were $800 million in debt again. So then how did we pass a balanced budget of cutting $1.2 billion? We didn't. Then we went into special session, raised it about $400 million more. Guys, we've got to stop the spending. When Polis started, $29 billion budget, now it's $45 billion. I know that I can present a budget to cut $10 billion easily first day. We've got to do this.
Thank you, Representative Scott Bottoms. Bob Brinkerhoff.
Senator Baisley and Representative Bottoms are 100% correct. You know, I actually think that the Democrats are doing this to us on purpose. They're hurting us on purpose. They know that. And they're doing it intentionally. Every one of them. And I just can't imagine how these people are going to get reelected, but they may. And if they do, God help us. As far as bringing down the cost of housing, yeah, there's a lot of unneeded regulations, and the fees need to be lowered. Polis did that on his own, as near as I know, and they got to come back down. A lot of the problem is supply and demand. We grew up in a capital, under capitalism, and supply and demand kind of determines what the prices of stuff is going to be. If you've got very few houses and a lot of people that want to live in them, the price is going to go way up. That's supply and demand. If you got a lot more houses than you do the people that want to have a house in a community, the price is going to go way down.
Thank you, Bob Brinkerhoff. Our next question is regarding parental rights. And Jason Meisel, we'll start with you, and then we'll go back this way and come around. So this is the question. This Democrat Party is no longer the Democrat Party of JFK or Grandpa or Grandma. The Democrat Party in Colorado is controlled by activists in the governor's mansion and at the state legislature who are pushing radical agendas. One example is House Bill 251312, which strips away the rights of parents to parent their children. 1312 had language in the bill that basically said that a child could be removed from their home if the parents do not affirm their child's gender confusion, many times facilitated by some teachers and some counselors in schools. How will you protect parental rights?
You know, I think that's a good question. Here's the thing. I raised 3 boys. I have one that's in the 173rd Airborne in Vicenza, Italy. I have one that's in law enforcement, and I have one that's in security technologies. How many of you are parents in this room? How many of you are grandparents in this room? What would you do to protect your children? Because I know what I would do to protect my children. And here's what I will tell you. As a governor in Colorado, parents will have the ultimate say on their children anywhere they go. No one gets to talk to a child without a parent. That money for all your education costs should follow the child. You should be able to decide what school they go to. It should be illegal for someone to tell you that you can't make the ultimate decisions for your children. As governor, I'll hold to that. I have fought back with Department of Human Services at times when I found that they were overstepping their bounds and taking away parents' rights. That is not something that's easy. You have to stand tall for those things. But if you're not willing to stand tall for children, you're not willing to stand tall for Colorado. I will tell you that now. And here's the thing. If I'm a governor, I will stand tall for your children. I've been doing it for years. Every time I go to the legislature, every time I come out, and the reason why I ran for this. I have a granddaughter. I love her very much, and I want her to get her Colorado and her chance at a great life here too. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason Meisel. Former Congressman Greg Lopez.
Well, remember, I told you about people over politics. Each and every one of you in this chair should have signed that Protect Kids Colorado initiative. And if you haven't, you need to. Look, we started this battle, Lisa and I, along with Senator Lundberg and others. We recognized that the government was taking our children away from the parents. And that's just wrong. Most parents don't even know that the law exists. They have no clue about what's going on in the schools. And the reason they don't is because the governor is not out there sharing that. So you see, the governor has 2 powers. He's got the executive power, which means he can oversee all the departments. But he also has the power of influence, which means he must go out into the public square. He must go out and talk to the communities and let them know what's happening in the legislature under the Gold Dome. Look, there's an evil empire right now in the Capitol, and we need to get rid of it. And so what we must do is make sure parents have their rights. I will make sure that they do. I will fight to make sure that government does not take away our children, do not hurt our children, because when they hurt our children, they're hurting every single family yet to come, and we must stand in the gap, folks. We cannot sit back. You must sign these petitions. We have to pass these laws because the legislature right now is turning their backs on parents.
Thank you, Greg Lopez. Senator Barbara Kirkmeyer.
Thank you. The worst bill ever, 25-13-12. We called it the war on parents. Quite frankly, if I were governor, I would have just vetoed that bill. That's just what we can do as a governor. I would have vetoed the bill. I wouldn't have sat there and worked for 2 hours on whatever night it was that we were talking about it on the Senate floor to basically try to rework it and make it sound like it wasn't doing something that it was doing. It was a war on parents, and it was government interfering between a parent and a child and how a parent gets to raise their child. Part of the problem is, you're right, it's correct. We have a lot of activists at the state capitol who are elected, and they don't even have kids. They think it's perfectly sound for them to pass laws that would take away a parent's right to their child and take away custody. So, as a governor, I would just flat out veto that. With regard to other things, school choice. I am a huge proponent of school choice. Parents should get to decide what is the best opportunity for their children and their education. They should get to have a voucher and take their child to whatever school that they feel most meets the needs of their child. I've tried to carry several bills, several pieces of legislation to ensure that parents would have that opportunity. They've been killed every time because of the Democrats. They are the problem, as been stated. So again, you're correct. The governor does have the Department of Education. There is a state education board, and my time is up, but we could work on that.
Thank you, Senator Kirkmeyer. John Gray Ginsburg.
Hi. So I'm from Colorado, so I went to Overland High School my freshman year, and then I went to Kent Denver, where I won the National Scholastics Award for Colorado in 1984. That's similar to the All-American Award, but it's given to people like myself who are computer geeks, called the National Scholastics. I believe the parents should be in control of schools, period. This current government is dystopian, and they're abusive to children, especially like with school lunch. I went through this at Overland. Feed the children, they'll show up. We have truancy rates that have never existed in Colorado before. It's in the newspaper all the time in Summit County. If you feed the children a school lunch, they'll show up. If you don't, they'll abandon school. And I believe that parents, like the PTA, should be in charge. Of course, parents should be in charge of school. They used to be. What happened? And I think that this alternative lifestyle that Jared Polis espouses is actually very destructive to our children. And I think that these policies that are dystopian need to be eradicated, and we need to bring neutrality back. Neutrality in schools. And we need to put more money in the schools. Like I brought up building a CU. Colleges make places money. They make states money, and we need to build more colleges. Also, as far as your question, I'll just floor it here.
Thank you. Thank you. John Gray Ginsburg. Jason Clark.
Yeah, again, this is really very simple. It's less government. We shouldn't even be talking about this. Parents should be able to raise their kids how they want. It shouldn't have anything to do with the government. So if there's anything anyone needs to leave tonight with is less government. Get the government out of our lives, please.
Thank you, Jason Clark. John Brooks.
So there's a few different angles that I look at from parental rights. One of them is around education, another one is around child safety and protection, and other ones are around also bullying and social media. All of these things, as well as the healthcare component, are all things that parents need to have direct control over. On the education side, I'm a very big proponent of things like charter schools and school vouchers and being able to take your choice as a parent to take your students to where they're going to receive the best opportunities. What we've seen out there right now, when you've seen some of the newest rankings that came out of U.S. News, where 25,000 high schools were looked at, and Colorado ranked D'Evelyn, I think, was 53rd. And the only district school, the top district school in that rank was my old school, Fairview High in Boulder, ranked 358. What I don't understand is why we aren't at top in every single one of those categories right now. That's a failure within that system. But parental rights are something that we didn't need to have in education before, but we need now. And that's a sad state because we can't trust education the way we used to be able to. So that's a problem as far as I'm concerned. Also, we're in a world of bullying and a lot of different areas where children are underneath pressures that they didn't have to be underneath before. Parents need to have the rights and the capabilities to be able to address those and also address their affirming care that they want their child to have, whether that be vaccinations or other types of health care. Parents need to be in full control of those, and those should never be the decisions of the government, the school district, or anyone else that's not the actual parent of that child.
Thank you, John Brooks. Bob Brinkerhoff.
Is that on? Yeah, it is. I agree that these petitions that are going around, everybody needs to sign those things. In a perfect world, what I'd like to see in 2027 is a conservative House, a conservative Senate, and a conservative governor. And I'd even like to see one of those liberal judges on the Supreme Court in Colorado not retained in office. But we have to prepare for the worst. In a best case scenario, as governor, I would like to help the state legislature repeal a lot of these bad laws that have been passed in the last decade. I really would look forward to that a great deal, and I think you would too. One of the, I forgot what it was. I was going to mention something else.
Thank you, Bob Brinkerhoff. Representative Scott Bottoms.
So a few months ago, I was at Children's Hospital in Aurora with Aaron Lee and Protect Kids Colorado because we had a press conference protest thing because Children's Hospital is now being investigated by the DOJ and the FBI because they have been doing transgender surgery on minors as young as 12 years old without parental knowledge. Not consent, knowledge. I'm going to give you one example of the way I'm going to switch this. This is about 20 things that specifically are for parenthood and childhood. We're going to reclaim that. I'm going to do this on day one. The no state employee will be able to use DEI for hiring and firing, promotion, demotion, anything. No state employee in the state of Colorado will be able to use grooming language, which is what you call pronouns. Will not be able to use grooming language. And so now what will happen is that 13-year-old girl in junior high, she's being pressured because you know who's taking these kids to Children's Hospital to have surgeries? Teachers and counselors. They need to be put in jail for pedophilia and for child abuse. Then on top of that, we're going to have a hotline straight to the governor's office that any student in the state of Colorado can call the governor's office directly. Not a teacher, not a principal, not administrator, and they can say, this teacher is grooming me, and we will start an investigation immediately on that teacher, that counselor. I want the bad guys, there's good teachers and counselors. I want the bad guys to be scared to death of Governor Bottoms. Don't mess with our kids.
Thank you, Representative Scott Bottoms. Senator Mark Baisley.
Thank you, Kim. This is the question. This is the question. Now, why do they think that they can even pass a bill like 1312? Why do they even believe that they can intrude into our families in such an intimate way? Because we haven't told them that they cannot. So I wouldn't do this on any other audience, but an audience like this where you guys know the Constitution. Remember, the United States Constitution says that there are enumerated powers that the founders gave the federal government in the first place. That this is the finite list of things that you can do, government, and anything outside of that would be extra constitutional and therefore disallowed. Now, to put a fine point on that, they gave us the 10th Amendment to the Constitution, and you all remember that. That says that if it's not listed in that 17 or so enumerated powers of the federal government, then it's left to the states and the people. What we have not done yet is listed the enumerated powers for the state. We need to update our Constitution, state Constitution, that leaves things like sexuality for our children to the parents, to the people. So this is the main drive of my campaign, is to update that Constitution to limit the powers of the state, because if we do not, then we can stop these things by veto now if we gain the governor's seat. But when the Democrats get back in office one day, they will simply revert back to this
Thank
again.
you,
So
Senator
let's
Baisley.
make that permanent fix.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Kelvin Wimberly.
It's disgusting what they are doing with our kids. I'm gonna be honest with you. I've never been married. I don't have any biological kids, but I had great parents, and I had a great example from the Word of God. And I want to be a champion for the parental rights. Those that are doing that to these kids, as far as I'm concerned, they should be arrested and put in jail. They have no business doing that. They have no business taking some kid somewhere to go ahead and have them demasculating or emasculating a little young men or defeminizing young girls, young ladies, young women. And the first woman that ever played football was at Bear Creek, went to Bear Creek High School. She played the first one in the United States. But you know what happened with her? This young lady that was a big tomboy ended up recognized how feminine she was. She started investing that in her femininity and became, you could feel that strength on her, a beautiful young lady. And you know what? These ones that are advocating this are ruining that opportunity. And that makes no sense. I want to be a champion, not only of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, but also of the parents, of parental rights. So I be governor. If I can help it, ain't going to be happening.
Thank you, Kelvin Wimberly. Alexander Mugachu.
I think a good place to start is, I'm a staunch proponent for self-governance, personal responsibility. That's what our founding principle is as Republicans here. I think Mark Baisley was onto something when he was talking about amending the Constitution. I'm probably the only governor candidate you're going to find in your lifetime that's going to advocate for something like home rule for every county. I think that if we put that on the ballot, let every county vote themselves into a home rule jurisdiction, I think that a lot of these laws that are coming out of the state can just be null and void in each of the counties. Home rule is essentially our version at the local level of the 10th Amendment, and I don't think that's a bad thing. In the short term, I think protecting parental rights, I think the citizens initiative route that we're seeing right now, I think it's a good place to start. Until we get a governor and a legislature that can overturn a lot of these laws, we're up a creek until we can get that changed.
Thank you, Alexander Mugachu. Robert Moore.
Okay, thanks. Well, this has certainly been an emotional issue, and Colorado's become the poster child for really abusing our kids here, and it's so sick to see that. I want to get back, Kim, to how you started this. The Democrat Party is not the party that we remember generations ago. On my website, I happen to have a picture of Robert Kennedy Jr. and I. We were speaking together at a conference. They were way different back then. That's also a good indication of how those Democrats can see the light and become Republicans like RFK Jr. did. It's an easy fix for this, not an easy, difficult, but we have to stop the destruction at its source, and that's our General Assembly and the Democrat craziness that's happening down in the Capitol. And it's easy enough to just start vetoing bills like this, House Bill 1312. Veto after veto after veto. If we've got a governor, and I certainly would be one, that can stand up to those and veto. Now, some of my opponents have said, well, you veto, the legislature just going to override you, because then you're going to be ineffective. Not true. It takes 2/3 majority in the House and the Senate. They don't have it in the Senate. We pick up a few more seats in the House. They won't have it. Every single bill is vetoed, and we can make it. And I'll do maybe one better than, I like Scott's idea, but maybe one better. As governor, I would create the Office of Child Protection in the Capitol. And before you ask me how I'm going to pay for that, I would reduce or eliminate some of these offices that Jared Polis put in a place, like the Office of New Americans, the Office of Building Carbon Emissions, the Office of Government Outreach. We can save enough money to protect our kids.
Thank you, Robert Moore. Senator Kirkmeyer, we will come to you first with this question, and it's how will you win? Recent campaign finance reports show that combined, the two Democrat candidates for Colorado governor have raised $6.4 million. Combined, all 18 Republican candidates have raised just under $400,000, and over half of Colorado voters are registered as unaffiliated. If chosen as the Republican candidate for governor, how will you appeal to unaffiliated and moderate Democrats who are so frustrated with Colorado's downward spiral that would continue under either Bennett or Weiser to win the election?
How would I appeal to unaffiliated voters? I'm just trying to make sure I heard what you
Unaffiliated
said.
and moderate Democrats.
And moderate Democrats. So, again, I think there are a lot of things within government that are not partisan. There's a lot of bipartisan. Even Ronald Reagan talked about the 80-20 rule, where there's 80% of the things that you can agree on and work on with people. So, as a state legislator, I have worked to work on those things with regard to things like taxes and lowering the cost of living. Also sitting on the Joint Budget Committee, I've worked to cut spending and, again, work to cut regulations. Those are things that do appeal to everyone. What's going on right now in our state? We are at a crossroads. And people in the state, unaffiliates in particular, are saying, look, we are going the wrong way and we're focusing way too much on the social issues, as been talked about up here, that we're focusing way too much on those as a legislature, and that we need to focus on jobs, the economy, lowering taxes, cutting regulations, and making our state a viable place to live. So I have worked on that as a county commissioner. I've got a solid record on that as a state senator. I think that I will appeal to unaffiliated voters, maybe more moderate Democrats, and work to get our state back and get it back on track. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Kirkmeyer. Former Congressman Greg Lopez, how will you appeal to unaffiliated and moderate Democrats?
You know, one of the things that people forget is that it's not about the money. It's about a candidate that can actually connect with the voters. So I've been out there talking to Democrats. I've been out there talking to unaffiliated voters as we speak. I've sat down with Los Servicios de la Raza. I've sat down with the NAACP. I've sat down with small business owners and talked to them about the future of Colorado. And I'm here to tell you, it's not about the money. Money is important. But you know what? We've seen what happens when people buy their way into office. This is what Jared Polis has done every single time that he gets elected. He doesn't go out and talk to the people. He doesn't go out and find out what's really the struggles of men and women and families. That's what real public servants do. They go out there and they engage. I've kept my hand on the pulse of what's going on here in Colorado. Here are the numbers, folks, and numbers don't lie. 2 million unregistered, 2 million unaffiliated voters in the state of Colorado. 1.1 million Democrats, and about 935 registered Republicans. So we must not only win our base, but we must also win 50% of the unaffiliated voters, and we must win 18% of the Democrat vote. You and I both know the Hispanic community is conservative. They're strong in their faith, strong in their families, and they're strong in freedom. How do I know that? I'm one of them. I'm going to get them to vote the way they should be voting.
Thank you, former Congressman Greg Lopez. Jason Mikesell.
Folks, here's the thing. We're not going to raise as much money as Democrats, I'll tell you right now. They know because they're going to have a hard time beating a Republican this time. But here's what I'll tell you about the unaffiliated independents. I'm already doing it, right? Here's the thing that I will tell you. You have to be into podcasts. You can watch me on Dan Gates Through the Gates. That actually garnered more views than most any of the other podcasts. You can find me on Slide a Gun Shop. That one actually had way more views than they've had for any other podcasts. You have to be working with social media on podcasts, groups within Colorado. I fought for your Second Amendment rights, which now I'm one of the Second Amendment fighters for those things. For Christian voters in Colorado during COVID, I would not shut down our churches. I would not shut down our businesses because they wanted that to happen. So I do have a big following in the unaffiliated, in the independents. I'm doing very well in those areas. One candidate to be able to win something like this is going to be the candidate that stood and has stood for many people across Colorado. A sheriff is that person, and as a CEO of a company, I will tell you, I have to reach across the aisle and work with everyone to get business deals done. It doesn't matter who you are. I am doing those things, and I will continue doing those things, and I will be the next governor. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason Mikesell. Robert Moore.
Yeah, okay, so thanks. So here's the tough truth. You know, a lot of times it really does come down to the money because if you look at the last election with Heidi Ganahl and Jared Polis, she spent about $10 million. Jared Polis spent about $30 million. And when you get outspent like that, it's really difficult. The other thing is, it comes down to the demographics in our state. As Greg was alluding to, we got about 24, 25% Republicans, about that many Democrats, and about half of the state are independents. So we've got to attract those. We've got to lead those independents. We've got to show them that we have the vision forward. The great news is, to be honest with you, a lot of those independents have the same concerns and issues that we do. They're worried about crime. They're worried about parental rights. They're parents just like we are. They want to reduce taxes because they can't afford anything either. So they're all with us on that. We just have to be able to attract and lead them. And this is where it comes down to your responsibility. It's greater than ours up here on the stage. All of you have to decide up here which of the candidates here can attract, lead, appeal to those independents, because we got to get not only all the Republicans, but we got to get over half the independents to win. And that's just a fact, and we need a lot of money to do it. We're going to have to do a lot of fundraising, and we need all your help. That's the truth. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert Moore. Alexander Mugachu.
You know, the good thing is I think that voters in general, whether they're unaffiliated, the Gen Z, millennials, what have you, I think they're primed for the taking. I personally don't look at you as voters as some prize to be won. I think that we all are in the same position with regards to this government, this overreach that we're facing, and I think that they are primed for the taking. So in a nutshell, I think what you're going to hear from all of us is it's going to boil down to messaging. In some cases, it's going to boil down to money, but in the end, it's a decision that we're all going to have to make as individuals. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexander Mugachu. Kelvin Wimberly.
Well, thank you for asking this question. This is a very good question to ask. And first of all, what is things that affects everybody? What affects people? Jobs. Got to have businesses that are going to be attractive. That'll affect everything. We pump oil and gas and coal and things of that nature. That's going to attract everyone. And not only use that, use any kind of energy that is usable. Second thing is the parental rights and stuff, that we're going to stand up for families. We're going to stand up for families and encourage families. And I heard from a stat that we only are producing 1.6 people because of, the abortions, everything is a hurt. It's hurt our economy. It's now hurt our economy. See the closing of all these schools? Well, that's because the people aren't there. The people aren't there that should have existed. And so we have to get the word out. We have to train the people. Second thing is crime. The crime and stuff, we have to get strong on crime. Those are things that affects everybody. When someone steals from somebody, someone stole something out of my vehicle. Yeah, I didn't like it, And if we can go ahead and make sure that we hold people accountable to do those things, that's very important. And giving ideas for innovative ways to attract not only people, but to get them an opportunity to get jobs and come up with innovative jobs that haven't come before.
Thank you, Kelvin Wimberly. Senator Mark Baisley.
It's right in my campaign plan. It has been from the very beginning to go pursue very overtly, very openly the unaffiliated vote. To just tell them, I want your vote. I want you to vote for me. But of course, you need to have some alignment in there. So, where we do align on all the very non-controversial, not the social issues, of course, but things like economy. I was recently recognized in Boulder, of all places, but I was invited to come in along with others to be recognized for boosting the economy in Boulder, and my participation in that was in two areas. One was helping bring the Tech Hub designation for quantum computing to Colorado, which is focused around the University of Colorado. And the second was the Sundance Festival that my face appears on the front page of the Daily Camera in Boulder, of having helped bring the Sundance Festival to Colorado that will be headquartered in Boulder. That's like having the Super Bowl come to town for 10 years running. So that's a very big deal. But the other thing is the money. So yes, it's going to take a whole lot more than what we're able to squeeze out in tens of thousands of dollars of fundraising. So I've been back east in Washington, meeting with the folks that typically do cough up that amount of money. And so there is one particular outfit that it prefers me as the candidate. They just need to believe
Senator Baisley,
that,
thank you.
that we can win the state, and then the big money comes.
Thank you, thank you. Representative Scott Bottoms.
This is one of my favorite subjects. I declared back in December of last year, and we've been softening the ground. We know we need 350,000 Democrat votes between Denver, Fort Collins, including Boulder. We know where we're going to get them. We've been working on this a long time. Our team's way ahead of pretty much everybody in this. We also are constantly getting the unaffiliated independent votes being pushed our direction through emails, all these different kind of things. Many of you, probably half of you in this room, have told me tonight that you've seen my videos and these kind of things. As we're out there, we know that this is happening. I had a Democrat come up to me in an event just a few days ago, and he whispered in my ear, he got close, whispered in my ear, he said, "I'm a Democrat, I donated to you, and I voted for you." And I thought, so am I. I'm also voting for me. But here's where we're at. We know Bennett's going to have about 40 to 50 million. Polis put 33 million of his own dollars in last time. I believe I can raise 7 to 10 million. That will put me farther because Bennett's not doing things like this. He doesn't care about the people. He runs over the people. He assumes his television ads are going to take care of it. We have quite a few thousand people that have already signed up on our website, not to vote for me, but to knock doors, to sign things, to put signs in their yard, all kinds of stuff. We know our 7 to 10 can way far exceed the 50 million, but we still need 7 to 10.
Thank you, Representative Scott Bottoms. Bob Brinkerhoff.
I'm not really sure what your question was. I've been listening to these guys talk, and I couldn't hear you, so.
Okay, how are you going to connect with unaffiliated and moderate Democrats to win the election? And the other component is that the Democrats will have a lot of money.
Okay, how am I going to connect with those people? My best hope is that they've been paying attention to what's happened in the last 6 or 7 years. And I hope that they realize the mistake that have been made. We've got to get these people out of government that hate you. We need people that actually care about you. And I think they've already spoiled their hand. I think this stuff about taking away parental rights, if you don't recognize a transgendered child, they've already shot themselves in the foot. The anti-Second Amendment bills that were passed this last year, I think there's a lot of Democrats that are pretty mad about that. I think people are starting to wake up to what's going on, and I think the tide is going to turn. I'm looking for a real good turnout for conservative people in not only the House, but the Senate, the governor's office, and I'm hoping that Hood fellow that's running for retention on the Colorado Supreme Court, I hope he's not retained in office. He's one of them that voted to keep Trump off the ballot. The Supreme Court did a pretty good job of spanking them all that voted for that.
Thank you, Bob Brinkerhoff. Okay, John Brooks.
There's a couple laws of nature that we can't do anything about. Number one, money is an enabler, but the other one is that grassroots drives elections. So doing events like this and making contact, our ground game has got to be better than the Democrats. Now, I think by default, it typically is. Now, interestingly enough, I came from Boulder. I get it. I understand how they think. It's actually possible for somebody like me to grow up there and survive. I think what a lot of the voters have been looking for a long time, and I'll tell you why, they're looking for somebody that's got an enterprise background, somebody with an executive background, somebody who's not a politician, somebody who actually brings plans that have actually worked in industry, have actually worked out in the field, that recognizes that we have big things that we need to do as a state in energy and transportation and healthcare and a whole variety of different areas that are all things that we have plans for. But at the same time, I think we also need to think about the fact that at the end of the day, we absolutely have to make sure that we connect. We have to work harder than we've had to work before, because for the last 8 years, the voices in our party that got us to a point to where we lost every lever of power, those voices weren't wrong, but those voices were overruled by a stronger marketing machine that we have to be able to overcome. And they're going to be looking for some good alternatives. I think there's some excellent ideas that's sitting up here in front of you tonight.
Thank you, John Brooks. Jason Clark.
Yes, I know the answer to this question, and nobody has got it, and I'm not telling you what it is. But it doesn't cost a dime. That's your hint. Doesn't cost anything. It's free. Now, I want to ask you all a question along these lines. Don't run me off the stage, please. I come in peace. I am a Republican, 100%. Ask yourself this. This is not America. This is Colorado. Everyone here knows Colorado. How is a hardcore evangelical Christian, hardcore MAGA, and far-right Republican going to win a general election for governor in Colorado?
Thank you, Jason Clark. John Gray Ginsburg.
Yes, everyone will vote for me, and then we'll realize Mr. Clark's dream. So anyways, I want to point out a letter that was sent to me from the White House, which I'm supposed to get back to, and I'm going to have Senator Kirkmeyer verify it. This is real. And I'm supposed to get back to the White House. That was sent to me from the White House. And it's a letter from the White House I'm supposed to get back to, and then, thank you. And also, this has opened up other doors. So I want to address your question. AOC has contacted me. Even though she's from the Bronx, even though she's a Democrat, even though I don't agree with her, the expression "when donkeys fly backwards" is what Senator John Kennedy references, for instance. I do listen to her, and I believe that in order to reach the other side, we should agree on health care, and that all these tariffs that we're collecting should go to health care next. All the tariffs should go to health care. Let's make an agreement with the Democrats. Make AOC happy, because she is hysterical, as all the government. I think that I'm not a Democrat. I'm a Republican. I'm running for office as a Republican. But I think that AOC would be a really good person to reach out to. And because she has control over Chuck Schumer, for instance, and this health care issue. I like AOC. I wish she was here in the background actually right now. However, I don't agree with her. And this government shutdown, not one candidate here has mentioned the government shutdown. I am. If I was governor, I would be in Washington every day, somehow fighting this government shutdown. It's hurting us all.
Thank you, John Gray Ginsburg. Okay, so we are getting near the end of the evening. We have 3 popcorn questions. What that means is it is a one-word answer, so we have 3 of those. We'll have closing remarks, and then we will have the straw poll, so make sure that everyone stays here for that. But before we get into the popcorn questions, I didn't know many of you. And I have to say, I am so impressed with this group of people that has stepped forward because they care about our state and they care about our people. And I thank you and your families for each of you doing that. I also want to say thank you to Trent Lacey and Ben and Sandra Aste for their great work and their teams on this. This has really been a fun event, and I thank them for that as well. So here we're changing it up, and you will not be timed on this because it's just one word. And so we will go to Representative Scott Bottoms first. If elected Colorado governor, will you pardon Tina Peters? Yes. Okay. Bob Brinkerhoff.
What was the question?
If elected Colorado governor, will you pardon Tina Peters?
Yes.
Okay. John Brooks. Jason Clark. Yes. John Gray Ginsburg.
Yes.
Senator Barbara Kirkmeyer.
Only if there's new evidence and new facts.
Representative Greg Lopez.
Yes, I've sent a letter.
Jason Mikesell.
Yes, based on that judge had no right to go that far with that case.
Robert Moore.
Yeah, sure. On my first day in office, of course, have the have the pardon letter ready.
Alexander Mugachu.
Hell yes.
Kevin Wimberly.
Absolutely.
And Senator Mark Baisley. Thank you. Okay, with this, we will go to you, Alexander Mugachu, for the next question. Do you plan to, one answer, do you plan to petition onto the ballot, go through assembly, or both? Okay, oh, make sure that you have the mic.
I plan on going through the assembly.
Okay, then we'll go back
Yeah,
this
assembly
way.
process for me.
It's not a yes or no question. It's depending on what circumstances are here.
Assembly for now.
Both at this point.
Say the question again, please. Though I
Okay,
think I
do
know
you
it.
plan to petition onto the ballot, go through the assembly process, or both?
Both.
I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
Assembly's a preference.
I really don't have an opinion on that, but I think assembly's the way to go.
Only assembly ever.
Only assembly. I respect these people in the process.
Okay. And Kelvin Wimberly.
Well, I have a tendency when people ask me a question, would you like steak or chicken? I generally say both. So I think I'm going to go with both at this time.
Okay, thank you. Bob Brinkerhoff, we will begin with you. Colorado's Taxpayers' Bill of Rights, TABOR, was added to the Colorado Constitution in 1992 by a vote of the people. Colorado is really about good manners. It says to politicians, bureaucrats, and interested parties, if you want to raise our taxes, if you want to incur more debt that we have to pay off, or if you want to keep excess revenue that you've taken from us, we the people, you just have to ask us. A question is, will you pledge to protect Tabor and the taxpayers of Colorado? Absolutely. Okay, very good. John Brooks?
All day long and twice on Sunday.
Jason Clark? Yes. John Gray Ginsburg?
I want to say that the cancellation elections violated Tabor and
One.
I believe in Tabor.
Okay, thank you. Senator Barbara Kirkmeyer?
I have, and I will continue to.
Okay. Former Congressman Greg Lopez?
Yes, I will dive on the sword for Tabor.
Jason Mikesell?
Yes.
Robert Moore?
Protect Tabor, one of the best things in Colorado.
Alexander Mugachu?
Not only protect it, but strengthen it with all of the verbiage that they've used to skirt it.
Okay. Kelvin Wimberly?
There's an expression that someone came to me. It says, I like hot sauce on my burritos. Well, if we have the Tabor, I can put more hot sauce on my burritos.
Okay, thank you. Senator Mark Baisley?
Yes, it's the uniqueness of Colorado. Absolutely, yes.
Representative Scott Bottoms? Very good. We are now at closing remarks, and you will have, just as we've had, a minute and a half, and we will start with you, Robert Moore, and go this way.
Okay, well, I'll finish where I started, and thanks again for being here. You have a really important decision to make as you choose from these very well-qualified candidates, but anyone would be better than the Democrat presumptive nominee, that's for sure. You're going to have to pick somebody that can appeal to the independents. The demographics are just what they are in this state. Somebody that can message to those independents about crime, about taxes, somebody that can help you reduce taxes. These are important issues. We're at a real crucial inflection point in this state. But I believe we have a once-in-a-generation opportunity to do this. I was actually at some Republican county meetings, and there were some Democrats there that had converted. That's how upset the Democrats are with the way our state is right now. So we just have to reach out to them. We've got to lead them. And if we'll just lead the Democrats and the independents, they'll come our way because we have common sense. I would like to lead the Colorado comeback for you, restore common sense to Colorado, and fight for you like I fought for our country when I was in Afghanistan and Iraq. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Robert Moore. Jason Mikesell.
So here's the thing in Colorado. The next governor is going to have to deal with lawfare. That is what's going to happen. And here's the thing about it. I have battled with the ACLU. They have sued me. I've been in battle with them for over 8 years on just the immigration issues alone in supporting ICE. I have won every single battle with them. Here's the other thing, too. You know, I'm not a career politician, but you have several issues in Colorado. One's the economy. I'm a business leader. I understand business and how to drive economies and how to scale an economy. That's something that has to happen. Law and order. You have one of the most violent states in the United States right now. You have more sexual assaults happening on women almost every day than any other state in the United States. I am the law and order candidate. I know exactly how to reduce your crime in this state by 30% within the first 6 months. It's by holding people accountable for what they've done. I will make sure that happens. Here's the other side, protecting children. I've got 3 boys, I've got grandchildren. I will protect our children in this state. Water. I will protect your water rights in that state because that's what drives our economy here. I will bring back oil and gas. I will work on the nuclear energy issues. But that has to be a business leader that understands the strategic goals and how to get there. Wildfires, all those issues that you've seen throughout Colorado, I've been on the ground level of that. I have fought every single day for your rights. I will continue to fight for your rights because I am here fighting for your rights. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason Mikesell. Former Congressman Greg Lopez.
You know, the issues that we face today, they're not Republican issues. They're not Democrat issues. They're not unaffiliated issues. These are people issues. Every family is struggling. Every small business is struggling. You know, I'm the former director of the United States Small Business Administration here in Colorado. For 7 years, I was a voice and face of over 800,000 small businesses. I will tell you that the heart and soul of every community is the small business. I'm here to remind you that there are 64 counties in the state of Colorado, not 11. We must make sure that we're fighting for all of us. One of the things that I will tell you that I will constantly be doing is making sure that the quality of life gets improved by everything that we're doing, that we make sure that families can thrive, that the younger generation can live that American dream once again by being able to afford that starter home, by being able to see the future that they can see with their family. You need a candidate that not only can see the future, but understands how to make it work. As a former mayor, I was also the city manager. Every single department head reported directly to me. I know all the issues that the state has to deal with, from water to transportation, to air quality, to zoning, to land use, to crime. All those things that we must face. These disasters, I understand how to deal with them because I sat on the disaster team with the fires and the floods. You must have a candidate that understands the totality of the job.
Thank you so much. Okay, Senator Barbara Kirkmeyer.
Thank you. I have always delivered for Colorado, and as governor, that will be no different because it's not just about today, it's about building a better future for the next generation. Like, I'm a mom, I'm a grandmother, I owned a small business, I ran a dairy farm, I'm a lifelong Coloradoan. This is my state. I am in this to make a difference. I grew up poor on a dairy farm in northern Jefferson County. I know what it's like to go without. I know what it's like to work hard for everything you get. I will be a governor for everyone in Colorado because we deserve better. We deserve to have a governor who knows how to govern and a governor who will roll up her sleeves and get to work for the state of Colorado. We will build a stronger Colorado. We will work to cut taxes. We will protect Tabor. We will protect our kids. We will build safer communities. We will be stronger. I'm running for governor because I care about this state. It's my state. I ask for your support, ask for your vote. Please go look me up, kirkmeyerforcolorado.com. And thank you. Thank you for being here this evening. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Senator Kirkmeyer. John Gray Ginsburg.
Hi, once again, thank you for having me here tonight. I have some policies that may be controversial that I want to bring up. One is capital punishment for king super shooters. For active shooters, we may consider bringing back capital punishment. Also, with these tariffs, as I said, we should bring in foreign investment to Colorado. And I think now is a great opportunity. I think we should protect our farmers from the wolves because that in itself is dystopian and intentionally harmful, as if another culture was putting their influence on us to hurt our country in the type of war that we're not quite familiar with. I want to get back to deterrence for crime enforcement. If we had, this is what they used to do in Colorado. They used to have public public capital punishment, hangings, public hangings for murder, for instance. If we did that in Colorado, it would be quite extreme. I guess it would be called right-wing. But they used to do it in Colorado, and when someone comes into King Soopers, for instance, and shoots up all these innocent peoples in King Soopers, maybe that should be addressed with capital punishment as an old policy to be brought back. As well as another old policy, I think we should build a train through South Park to alleviate this I-70 congestion problem. There used to be a train through South Park, and now there's none. We would get federal funds once we agreed to work with them in terms of sanctuary cities. Then they'll give us the funds we need for our railroad to help with the I-70 project. I see a lot of good people here tonight that I would put on my committee and boards. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. John Gray Ginsburg. Jason Clark.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you, Kim, Matt, and Trent for organizing this, and all you people for listening. There's a lot of people up here, so thank you all. This might not come across, I'm kind of a contrarian thinker. I could care less whether I get elected to any public office. Doesn't matter. I think my platform can win. I think my ideas are good. A lot of the candidates up here mentioned my ideas. Nuclear, Tabor, getting rid of the state income tax. So go online, check it out. And the other thing I want to tell everybody, let's be more positive. Colorado is in America. This is the greatest country ever. It was the greatest country after Obama, Trump, and we're way too negative on America right now. So just remind yourself, if you need a reminder, go travel around the world. Come back here and you'll be blessed to be an American. God bless America. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason Clark. John Brooks.
Well, I actually have traveled around the world, and you're absolutely right. What we see here and what we have here, many people take for granted. My campaign is going to be a little different than probably a lot of other campaigns you may be used to, because I'm going to be focused on the next 25 years. The decisions that we make today, the actions that we take today, in all of these categories, whether it be transportation, whether it be in rural revitalization and digital access, whether it be in healthcare, whether it be in women's healthcare, whether it be in parental rights, whether it be in any of these issues, whether it be in energy, when we don't want another 15,000 wind turbines, which is what it'll take to meet our energy demands in the next 15 years. If we don't want $900 electrical bills, we need to be able to deal with those issues now, because that's what they're projected to be. So my campaign looks back at the past 25 years and says, from 2000 to now, what progress have we made? It's a rhetorical question, but go through and look and say, what progress have we actually made? Do we have less congestion on our roads? Is our healthcare better? Is our education better? Has it slipped? That's why we need to look at the next 25 years and focus on those decisions now. The actions that we take now are going to set the tone. In 25 years, I'll be retired, hopefully alive, definitely retired. When that happens, what's the Colorado that we're leaving for our kids and our grandkids, because they're going to be running the show? That's the focus of the campaign. Please stop by and see us at our table. The back of our card will show you exactly what our contract with Coloradans is. Thanks very much for coming tonight.
Thank you, thank you, John Brooks. Now, Bob Brinkerhoff.
I think the biggest problem that we've got here in Colorado is our crime rate. That's the reason that Colorado is one of the most dangerous states in the country to live in right now, because we're ignoring laws. I can fix a lot of that with executive orders real early in 2027 and start enforcing the laws again. I think that's probably the best place for me to start. I'd also really like to work with the state legislature about repealing some bad laws that's been passed in the last 5 or 6 years, starting with the worst of them, and I'll let the senators and the representatives tell me which ones they think is the worst, and just start attacking them one by one until we can get those laws repealed and get some good statutes on the books. I'm really hoping that these petitions that are going around can get a ballot measure to put some of these things in our Constitution to where we don't have to worry about bad legislators making some bad laws like the Democrats have done in the last 6 or 7 years. I'm Bob C. Brinkerhoff on Facebook if you want to friend me, or just even take a look at my webpage. I'm looking
Thank you.
forward to working for you.
Thank you, Bob Brinkerhoff. Representative Scott Bottoms.
Thank you. The top 4 issues in Colorado, the first one is an 80-20%. That's grooming of our children. That includes Democrats, Republicans, Independents, Libertarians, unaffiliated. 80% of our state says they're tired of this. 70% of our state says that crime is the next biggest issue and they're tired of this. Then we get to economy, then we get to education. The reason I'm saying that is if you think that this is the same old political concept and that we just need a good businessman in the governor's seat, you've missed the whole point, and we're going to continue losing like we've been losing for the last 30 years. We need a strong conservative in the governor's seat, and the Democrats are going to put me there. The unaffiliated are going to put me there. I'm traveling all over the state. I just spoke to a large group of Hispanics. I'm going to get most of the endorsements for the Hispanics. They're going to put me there. And the church I've been working on for 3 years, they're going to put me there. Why? Because this is not taxes and potholes. This is our children, and this is crime, and people are done. If we keep approaching this from the same way we've been approaching this, we will continue to lose as we've been losing. I know I'm going to have, from the Republicans, at least 125,000 more votes than Heidi got, and from Democrats, I'm going to get the 300,000 that I need. ScottBottoms.com, look at my priorities, look at the plank, look at what we're going to try to accomplish, and we're going to bust this thing wide open in 26 when they announce that a Christian conservative pastor is now the governor of Colorado.
Thank you. Thank you. Senator Mark Baisley.
Thank you, Kim. And thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. You know, what government ought to be doing, it ought to do very well. So I've spent most of my focus as a state representative and now as a state senator in trying to bring jobs, companies to this state. Billions of dollars, thousands of jobs have come here. Also, in my 6 years on the Education Committee, I've developed strong relationships with the leadership of our universities, our chancellors, at UNC, at CSU, CSU in particular, trying to get them to focus on preparing folks for the urgency of those new jobs and not indoctrination. Now, remember, Declaration says that government derives its just powers from the consent of the governed. My vision is not merely to solve the symptoms, but to cure the disease. If we do this, we won't simply slide back into tyranny for Colorado every time the Democrats get a hold of the state again, which they will. It's inevitable. So let's fix it. Let's bring back Colorado into the fold of the American dream. My name is Mark Baisley, and I ask you for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Mark Baisley. Kelvin Wimberly.
It's such an honor to be with all these great people, and thank you so very much for having us here. I just appreciate all of y'all. And I want to let you know the reason why I'm inspired to go ahead and run, because I care. I'm being led to, because we know this is the most beautiful nation ever, and I want to keep it that way. And this state is a beautiful state. I want to keep it that way. And I've experienced what, even though I was a little kid, I was paying attention. We had a big recession in the 70s because, and some of y'all remember that, because we had an anti-business climate. We had an anti-business and growth climate. Can't do that. So give an incentive for businesses. And another thing I want to bring up, we got to stop the hate. That's hate, the bitterness, the anger, unrighteous anger. We got to stop it. And it's not coming from us per se, but we have to start there. Loving God with all, loving our neighbor ourselves, treating people the way we want to be treated, because it seems like these are evangelical things, but these are universal because it affects all of us. And as governor of Colorado, y'all would want to, and I still use y'all because I come from Oklahoma, if you vote for me, I will lead. I will lead, and I will advocate for parental rights, for getting businesses here, and caring about people, and having us do great things to be number one, not only in the United States, but around the world. Productivity here.
Thank you, Kelvin Wimberly. And Alexander Mugachu.
So I want to thank the organizers once again, and thank you all for coming out and engaging in this discussion here, and thank you, Kim, for doing that for us. I'm in this race because I have some concerns, as most of you all do. I guarantee it. General election viability and effectiveness of the next governor. Those are two major concerns that I have for the race itself. I think that we need to have a serious come to Jesus moment with how we actually want to see our state governed. And I think I bring some different perspective in actually governing. Different methods that we wouldn't see otherwise under a Jared Polis or a John Hickenlooper or a Bill Ritter. I think that moving forward, we need to give people back the power of the vote. I think the last election, this is a sample ballot from Pueblo County, 2024. This is a 3-page ballot that people were willing to engage in policy discussions. I want to bring each and every one of you to the table. As governor, I will do that. AlexMugatu.com, and because I won the coin toss here, the 15-sided coin toss, I just have to say, Greg, bro, we're not the ugly twin sister.
Candidates, thank you so much. Now, we are going to be at our next portion of the evening, but I wanted to say thank you to all of you. I see so many people that are friends and so many people that I want to have as friends. So thank you so much for being here. Really, really appreciate it.
So thank you, candidates. Thank you, Kim. So right now, this is the straw poll voting time. And Priscilla and I have been working on a process here that's quick and easy. So she's putting buckets up. There's a name for each candidate up here. If you want to participate in the straw poll, you get out your little list of candidates. This is not your ballot. God bless our organizers. We have little check marks. This is your ballot. So the little card is just going to be quicker and easier for us to read the name on here. So you write down your choice. You can take this home with you if you want, but this is where you write down the name is on your little 3x5 card and bring it up and drop it in the bucket of your choice. And we do have all 19 candidates that are on Tracer. Their bucket is up here in front. So we ask the candidates to just stay for a few minutes in case you're not familiar with all of them and you want to see, okay, let's see, okay, that's Robert, okay, that's Greg, okay, I got it, this is Mark, okay. Write your name down, get ready, and we'll open the polls up. And thank you again, candidates. I think they're excused, is that right, Kim?
Oh, well, and thank you, Sandra Oste, yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes, we have one announcement.
So hold on. Just one more announcement, guys. So before I start, Trent gave me a few minutes. I'd like to have everybody give a round of applause to Trent for putting on an amazing event here tonight. And for Kim for putting on, she always does great on these. Thank you very much, Kim. Matt, too. Good job, Matt. So my name is Raymond Garcia. I'm the chairman of the Colorado Hispanic Republicans. We're out there trying to get the 1.25 million Hispanics in Colorado to learn and understand that they are actually Republicans. We're the ones that put on the food for tonight. If you can put the thing for my daughter. This is Addison. All the proceeds for tonight from the concession stand are going to my daughter's chance to go to Poland on a missionary trip. So anything you guys buy at the concession stand, or if you'd like to donate for her, she wants to go to Poland and see Auschwitz and do all kinds of stuff in there. She goes to Front Range Christian School. So anything you guys can help us with that, we would really appreciate it. Other than that, like I said, my name is Raymond Garcia. I'm the chairman of the Colorado Hispanic Republicans. You can call me Jefe. If you got that joke, you need to be in the Colorado Hispanic Republicans. You can join by going to coloradohispanicrepublicans.org. We'd love to have you as a member. Don't worry, you don't have to be Spanish or Hispanic or Mexican or anything. If you like tacos, you're good for us. Thank you very much, everybody. All right, folks, as you finish filling out your ballot for the straw poll, We want to take a moment to thank you for being here tonight. We hope you enjoyed the forum and found it both informative and inspiring as you heard directly from the candidates shaping Colorado's future. Remember to sign the Protect Kids Colorado petitions before you leave. A heartfelt thank goes out to all the volunteers who dedicated their time to make this event possible, and to the candidates for their sincere and thoughtful responses to tonight's questions. We extend a special thank you to Kim Munson for moderating this evening's forum with professionalism and insight, and to Res Church for making tonight possible. Thank you to Nate Wiggins, host of his podcast, Better Nate Than Never, for live streaming tonight's forum. Finally, thank you all to all the organizations and groups in attendance with us tonight. God bless you and God bless America. Good job, sound people. Thank you. Thanks for the mic and the light.